Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, Jan Michael here, and here we are with another season of the Apothecary Diaries. Now, if you guys remember my video from last year when I reviewed the first season, since that one was also nominated for Anime of the Year, then you'll know why I did enjoy the show. There were a couple of things that kept me from absolutely loving it. So even though I do admit it was a solid anime that I wholeheartedly recommended, there were a couple of things that marred the overall experience for me. Now, with Season 2, we gotta see if those things were improved upon, if new things came up to replace the bad stuff, or if the whole thing is now just going in the completely wrong direction. Well, sit back, take a swig of this potion, and let's find out. Right off the bat, one of the small shortcomings of the show from the first season is immediately improved with the second. I loved the background of the first season of the Apothecary Diaries, so much so that I wanted more, and felt one of the disappointments was that we didn't really get to see much outside the palace where the show takes place in. Well, lo and behold, the second season not only has more episodes that has the cast wander outside the palace, but practically the second half shifts locations entirely, giving us more to admire. These shots are absolutely beautiful and feel like a work of art, to the point that I do feel you can almost freeze frame any single shot where it's showing the landscape, and you could just take that and hang it on your wall. Like, it's art. And while I do know some people had a problem with the overall quality of the art style not being as solid as it was in the first season, I still think this is a great step up. Just in terms of locations, in terms of what they show you, I think that's all amazing. Granted, I would have liked to have seen more wide shots. I do agree that we get too many close-ups of the characters, so you can't really enjoy a lot of the character design elements all that much. However, in terms of the background itself, I think it's all fantastic. You could tell research went into the era of how these buildings actually looked, the locations, the wildlife. It's one of my favorite aspects of the show, and I'm so glad they took it a step above what the first season did. So for me, background art is truly amazing, one of the biggest highlights of the show. Now, from what I understand, the style of the character designs shifted over to match more closely with that of the manga, which I'm sure fans of the material will appreciate. But I do have to admit that the glow that made the first season's characters pop seems to be missing from this season. Is this a result of that change? It's a possibility, but I do feel it goes further than that, as some character designs aren't all that fascinating. The central antagonist of the season is actually very lackluster and is missing the impact necessary for this type of character. The second half of the season is also really poorly paced, and it results in a lot of these supposedly impactful moments just being very, very lackluster. As I mentioned, the central antagonist, who is this evil person, which I won't spoil here for you if you haven't seen the season, but my God, you just hate this person. And then by the time this person shows up, you're like, oh, that's what they look like. There's really nothing that really sets that person apart from the rest of the cast. It's very underwhelming, and that's a shame. Now, please don't take that to mean that I think all the character designs here are absolutely trash. That's not true. A lot of the animation from the first season does carry over to some of the existing characters still, and all that is great. But yeah, that shininess, those character models that really pop off the screen, I do feel that is missing in this season. Again, maybe that is that's the ultimate result of changing to a style that more closely resembles the manga, but I think you end up losing on a lot of the personality of these characters just because they don't shine as much anymore. So that's my take on it. Again, this isn't a terrible change by any means. I just think when you compare it to the first season, you're just not as enticed by the characters. And you do feel that, especially when it comes to introducing these new characters, and especially that villain. We have a new director at the helm this time around, with Akinori Fudesaka taking over for Norihiro Naganuma, though Norihiro is still overseeing the season as chief director. Akinori was actually assistant director for the first season, so there wasn't a stretch to see him fully take over the role for the second season, and most people do feel that he did a good job with the new direction of the series, as well as how it handled many of the romantic elements of the show. Now for me, I think he works well enough, but there are definitely some things that mar the overall experience. First and foremost is what I said about the character designs. Again, not bad, they just don't have that same pop that the first season had. I also think that the mysteries this time around are far too simple. Like, I know, like, for the first season I said they were way too convoluted, and Maomao is essentially like a god of deduction with how easily she was able to solve just about everything. And this time it's like the complete opposite. Like the mysteries are a little bit too easy, or especially like in the second half where you have obviously you know what's going on. I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but you know who like the culprits are, and Maomao just can't figure it out, and I'm like, what but you're able to solve things just by looking at them, and you can't figure out this? Like, why is she like a dumbass all of a sudden? So, like, that whole thing just, like, that kind of annoyed me, actually. But more so than that, the biggest letdown is in the pacing of the second half of the season. It is horrendously bad, like, really, really awful. Because of that, a lot of these super impactful moments that should have been these like amazing, like, holy crap, I can't believe this is happening. You have like these like tragic stories, you have these characters that are supposed to be making an impact. They just don't. It's like rushed. It's rushed so badly. I really truly think that that second half should have been a season all on its own, with like a full like 20 to 24 episodes, really give these characters time to breathe, evolve, and give the situations really more time to develop. But because it's like kind of squished into this essential second season, the pacing just completely ruins it for me, to the point that by the end, I really didn't care about any of those characters. That's a huge problem, especially some that have been with us for quite some time. Like, I did not care what their ultimate fate was. So yeah, to me, that is the biggest downfall of the season. And that's a huge shame, especially with how strong the first season was, and I would even say the first half of this second season is. Now, I know it sounds like I truly dislike the show, but look, that's not true. As I said, the first half of the season is still very strong, and despite the lackluster second half, there are still good moments throughout. It's just as a whole, it isn't very impactful. But I would say that the romance works so much better this time around, which I feel is going to be what a lot of people really want to see here. Like, Jinshi no longer gives those creepy, rapey vibes that he had in the first season. He matures, which is nice to see. So overall, there's a lot of mixed feelings here. The Apothecary Diaries Season 2 sees protagonist Maomao continue to solve mysteries while navigating the political struggles of the royal family that she's working for. As Jinshi continues to grow true feelings for Maomao, she is ultimately put into various dangerous situations that results in her being forced to travel to a distant land where she learns about an adversarial group that opposes the current rulers of the land. The series continues many of these strong elements that the first season established: mysteries that Maomao solves, the intrigue between the royal family and those that oppose them. You learn more about the history of the previous ruler as well, and of course the romance between Jinshi and Maomao continues to grow, and I do think in a better way this time around. You know my feelings on the second half, so I won't repeat myself there, but Also note that there are still some interesting things layered throughout that second part, so it's not like it's a full-on dud. I do think there is enough intrigue and suspense to keep most people happy. Heck, I can see some people just flat out saying I'm wrong about this and saying no, that the second half was amazing. But yeah, just know that the first half is still going to deliver everything that you love about the series. And though it deviates a little bit more in the second half, if you just don't care, just not that critical, I think most general audiences are still going to enjoy the show greatly. Emmy Lowe has lent their voice to many characters over the last few years, probably most famous of them being Lucy in Cyberpunk Edgerunners. In the Apothecary Diaries, they voice Maomao, which is a tough role to fill, especially since Aoyuki absolutely crushes it in the Japanese language. Now, I personally have not seen the show with English dub, so I can only go off of the few clips I did see with Emmy performing the voice, and from what I can tell, they do an amazing job. It's the right amount of nasally that I always imagine the character to have if they were to speak English, and the various moments of silliness do match with what I've seen in the Japanese version. While I can't claim to be an expert, from the small excerpts I've heard, Emmy definitely does justice to the character. Now, I did do some research to see what other people are saying about Emmy's role here as Maomao, and from what I can tell, it's nothing but praise. In fact, some people even said that they are the best thing about the English dub, so from what I can tell, this is definitely a most worthy nomination. As I just said, Aoyuki as Maomao is freaking fantastic. What she does with this character is just so unique that you can't help but fall in love with the personality all the more. Her interactions with Takeo Otsuki's Jinshi continues to be a highlight, and her going from this no-nonsense monotone personality to chibi little poison goblin never gets old. Now, is this my favorite voice Aoi has ever done? No, that honor still goes to Tanya from the saga of Tanya the Evil, but there's no doubt that whenever I think of her voice credits moving forward, Maomao is definitely going to be one of the first ones that pop into my mind. And seeing as she won this category last year, I think she also has a very good chance of taking it this year as well. And you know what? It would definitely be well deserved, because she is hands down one of the best things about the show. With all the gripes I have about Maomao as a character being dumbed down in this season for whatever reason, does that mean I disagree with her nomination here? Well, you tell me.
チートばかし言ってみるか。そうそうそうそうそう。
Alright, look, despite my gripes with the second half, Maomao is still a god of deduction. I mean, there's mysteries in the first half that have gone unsolved for generations, but yet she can figure out just like that. It's silly. So if you're looking for that stuff, it's definitely gonna be here. But yeah, I think she's too smart a character to have not known what everyone knew from like probably season 1 as well. I mean, the only place I can forgive it is in her romance, but I mean, I think there's reasons for that.
I'm pretty sure I crushed a frog when I fell.
Huh? A frog?
Absolutely. It jumped on my head, making me lose my balance. After we fell, it must have landed on you.
That was actually,
A frog.
smaller in size, aren't they?
Right now, this season, they're known to be decently sized.
Just decent?
Yes, end of story.
Yeah, you know, we'll let that slide. But all other aspects, she should continue that god of deduction. That's what makes her so fascinating a character. And look, the character is still greatly interesting to follow. I like her interactions with those around her, and despite being in some serious danger this season, she's constantly finding ways to keep cool or think her way out of situations. And she's not perfect either, as she does need to rely on others for help from time to time, which is great for making the character feel more believable. And even though I wasn't a huge fan of the second season, I know I've said it like a million times already, I will say that Maomao was never the problem. I really liked her reactions and responses to what was happening. In other words, she's the one spot that came out clean in that mess, and that counts for something. If these don't convince you to throw your life away for Maomao, then I don't know what will. She's a cute little poison goblin that you just want to hug. But you shouldn't, because you'll get on her bad side. Plus, then you'll be a freaky little creep like Jinshi. Only, not as good looking, so you're probably not going to be able to get away with it. Like, if it sounds like I'm not taking this category seriously, it's because I literally just spoke about this character for like the last 3 sections, so I think we can move on now. The score on the Apothecary Diaries Season 2 is a highlight for the show. Composed by Kevin Penkin, Satoru Kosaki, and Alyssa Okehazama, the music captures the setting and environment beautifully. Not only does it match the time period, but enhances the individual scenes to build tension, mystery, and the romantic moments. Many of the standout scenes for the season would not have been as impactful without the fantastic score on display. And I dread how much further the second act would have fallen if not for the music lifting it up. And I'm not alone here. In my research, I found that many people considered the score one of the best components of the season. Most people pointing out the scene where Lankin is telling Jinshi to please save Maomao as the highlight in terms of the musical composition. Even if you're not a fan of the show, I can't see anybody having a problem with the score here. And just like everyone else, I agree, it is one of the best things about the anime. I swear, I've heard that beat before somewhere. Where was it again? Oh yeah, but no, that song came out after this season, so it's something else. Something in the deepest recesses of my mind, as if my body is subconsciously trying to protect me from something, from remembering something tragic. Ah, yeah, that's right. How could I forget? I guess that beat is really popular. I don't know what to say. Overall, I think this song is okay. This is all I got. It's okay. Okay, let me elaborate here, because I know a lot of you are probably screaming at your monitors, because as I understand it, this song was everybody's jam at the time, to the point where when they changed the song for the second half of the season, people went nuts. So look, I was never completely entranced with it as so many others were, which, I mean, could be because I kept thinking of Love Hina each time I heard the song, but yeah, for me, the only real catchy point is that main little portion. Heck, my wife, who has seen the show as well, wasn't a huge fan of the opening either, and she did skip it from time to time since she didn't really find it memorable, so, hey, look, we may be the odd ducks amongst the bunch here in this regard, but know that I don't think the song is bad by any means. It's okay, it's fine. And I think a nomination here is completely understandable given how much love it got, but it's just not one I'm going to be playing outside of the opening itself. All right, look, so far I've tried to keep things as spoiler-free as possible, but in terms of the supporting characters, one in particular I should say, I'm going to have to talk about certain aspects of that character, so be prepared that if you've not seen the second season and you haven't figured out a mystery in it yet that you could easily figure out in the first season, I'm going to spoil something for you. But before we get to that, let's talk about Jinshi. I mentioned earlier that in my review of Season 1 that while I like the banter between Jinshi and Maomao, I thought it came across as too creepy at points. That part of this you could kind of excuse as he was very immature in that first season, plus this is set in a more feudal China era and that culture has not always been the best with treating women good, but I mean what culture has. So again, you want to excuse it by all means. Here in the second season, you really get to see his character grow. While there are still silly moments, when he needs to be serious and man up, he does so. Not perfectly, mind you, which is appreciated. I think that would be too jarring of a change, but it is done in a believable way. His romance with Maomao feels much more developed and leads to some great moments. I hope he continues to improve during the upcoming third season, but for now, while I wasn't keen on him getting the nomination the first time around, I'm more accepting of it this time. And then we have Lulan, which is also listed here as Shisu, which, I mean, why would Crunchyroll do that? Like, you'd think they'd be smarter about that? Like, but whatever, I guess, fuck spoilers, am I right? Anyways, as Shisu, this character was just a bundle of energy that made her someone fun for Maomao to interact with, as her personality was almost the complete opposite of hers. She was also incredibly knowledgeable, and you knew there had to be something more being built up with her. But the way this season tackles it is a bit lackluster. First, you pretty much figure out that she is Lulan right away, and as more focus starts to be put on her and her past gets revealed, she becomes much more of a fascinating character that just doesn't have enough moments to really shine. And once again, the problem here is the pacing. We fly by that second half. We don't have enough time to really develop the arcs between all these characters. Her interaction with Maomao, her interactions with her mother, her sister, her father, who's barely a character despite being such an important figure in this season. Like, good lord, why? It's so maddening, especially because the first half and the first season are good. They're good. This should have been the season to finally push this to like amazing great territory, and it just doesn't. I ended up feeling nothing for this character by the end when you ultimately get to see exactly what she's planning to do, which I won't spoil here for you. I will at least keep that. But come on, I should be feeling emotions. And this really makes me worry about the upcoming third season, just because it ends on such a whatever note. I get most people maybe didn't feel that way. Like in my research, I didn't really see many people talk about the pacing issues or anything in that notion, but man, did I feel it. It got to the point where I almost didn't even care about watching the next episode. That's a problem, and I had never felt that way in the entire series before. So dismiss all that if you want, say that I'm crazy. I cannot ignore those feelings. I did feel them. I am disappointed, but yes, I am still looking forward to season 3. I don't even know. I'm at a loss for words by just how let down I am, especially with such a fascinating character here. So does the Apothecary Diaries Season 2 have a better chance at taking home Anime of the Year than its predecessor did? I don't think so, and not just because of my gripes with the show. While I didn't notice so many people talking about those aspects a lot, I did see a lot of negativity in terms of the other individual aspects, including the ones that I did really enjoy. So I do think, despite it being probably in third place, I think it's a distant third compared to the juggernauts of the number 1 and number 2 spot. So that's my thought process on it, but know that if you love the first season, you'll probably love this season just as much. If you do have any problems with it, I don't know if they'll go to the extent that I had a problem with. And please note that I do see the show going home with its wins. I do not think it's going to go home empty-handed, so at least take solace in that. If you do want it to get its flowers, it most definitely will on the big night. Not quite the remedy we expected. I give the Apothecary Diaries Season 2 a 3.5 out of 5, with a recommendation to see it. It may not have the same highs the first season did, but the show still has plenty to enjoy even during the second half fumble. I'm still looking forward to the eventual third season and hope it can concoct something that will go down much easier than this season did. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is 1 of 6 shows done, and we're not off to a good start. I remember, I got flack for the first season, so I can imagine those that really love the show are going to let me have it this time around. Or not. Sometimes I think that's going to be the case, and people do agree with me, or just don't say anything whatsoever. So let me know what you guys think. Am I fucking crazy? Is this the best season yet? Or am I right on the money that this was a bigger disappointment than we could have ever expected? And are you looking forward to season 3? Until the next video tomorrow, guys, please, like always, stay safe out there and have a good one.